they sound killer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi. Probably like many of you, watched the Jared James Nichols uh, rig rundown from Premier Guitar the other day, and I was inspired. So I opened up my Pod Go Edit, and I opened up my Fender Tone app for my GTX 100, and I started messing around. And what I found was that I couldn't quite get the amp tone right. Jared plays through his signature amp, and he plays through these pedals here. Looks like an Octavia, a couple of tube screamers, funky vibe, uh, a germanium 3 transistor style fuzz, and a RMC wah. And so I started kind of picking that apart, and I realized that I wasn't going to get the amp tone that I wanted from the Podgo. I was able to find an IR with the cat for the cabinet for this Black Star Artisan 100 amp, but I couldn't find an amp head simulation anywhere. And then I realized I've got this guy right here. All the Jared James Nichols tone one could ever want. So I decided I would plug my Pod Go with the amp and cab sim turned off and just use it as a pedal board into this, and then plug this through the cabinet extender feature that these come with into my GTX auxiliary so I could get some nice loud beefy sounds. So I've got this thing, on the clean setting, gained up, level relatively low, EQ'd more towards the British tone, because I found that the American EQ is a little too muffled. I've got a little bit of delay on here, just set to be like a slapback, and then I started building the pedal board. Okay, I've got my Line 6 Podgo editor here. I've got the Tube Screamer, and these are all dialed in based on the rig rundown settings when they depicted his pedal board. He's got boost all the way up, volume, I just matched on my Podgo as best I could. So here I have the Octavia. I've got Tube Screamer. Oh, I have a noise gate here, but I'm actually going to get rid of that because we're going to run this as go back to it, uh, a vibe. I was using the vibe in the Fender GTX 100, but that wasn't working very well. So, because I couldn't find the right kind of amp and cab, so I can't run through the auxiliary and use the effects on board with the GTX 100. So I have to get all my effects from the Pod Go, which is totally fine. I'm just sacrificing the noise gate, which I tested, and it doesn't really need it anyway. So we're going to go to mod ubiquitous vibe, and then we'll go to it, and we'll kind of try and doctor it up. Looks like speed at 3-ish, intensity at 7.5, volume at 10. We'll see about all that. We've got the Octavia and the Tube Screamer and the Arburator and then the Vibe, and then the amp and cab are turned off, and at the end of the chain there's an EQ. The EQ is actually a low high shelf, and if you go on to um, Tone Junkie, he did a thing about using the low high shelf on the Helix and the Pod Goes to get a more tubey kind of sound out of the pedal board. So I did that, and it works pretty good. Pause it here if you want to copy the settings because he shared them, and I'll share them as well. Okay, Podgo is plugged into the Black Star. The Black Star is auxiliaried out into the auxiliary in of the Fender GTX 100. This is a 1978 Gibson Les Paul Deluxe, all original except for the tuners. It is my number one, and while these are not P90s, I am pretty sure Mr. Nichols would approve. Okay, here's my clean. Tube Screamer. Tuner. Arburator. Vibe. Roll the volume down.